Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. We got ourselves a Mailbag podcast talking about the 3-1 New York Giants. We're going to talk about Neal, Wink, Kafka. And we're actually even going to touch the OBJ stuff. Been ignoring it as long as we could, but we have to kind of talk about it today. Justin, how are you doing?
Just when we thought we couldn't get enough Josina Anderson in our lives, she is back.
Get turned with the crew.
Get turned with the crew. We're going to talk about how we're going to get turned with the crew. Bobby Skinner.
NFL talk mixed with our lives and your lives.
We'll play it eventually. This is a wild time to be a Giants fan. OBJ, Landon Collins, Davis Webb. Oh my gosh, it's the 20 teens again. Jake Fromm.
I tweeted out, the storylines this week feel like a Week 15 Giants spiraling out of control storylines, but it's no, we're 3-1. And because good things are happening around the Giants, Odell's got to get in on the attention. Justin, this episode was brought to you by Paul Frumerman. We love Paul. Sean Salvi. He likes salvia. Don't judge, but it's not good for health. And then Trey Carpenter, who is actually the carpenter who broke the Daniel Jones neck injury news last year. Justin, who are these people?
Wow, remember that? Wild. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. That's where these wonderful people went. For $2 a month, you can hang out with us while we record the shows. Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers, magnets in the mail. And then twice a month, you have an opportunity to win a shirt. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. Thanks to our patrons.
Take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
Zach Jacobs with the first question asks, what improvements did you see on tape from Evan Neal that led to a much better week 4 versus weeks 1 through 3?
So there definitely was improvement out of Evan Neal. I don't think it was as good improvement as he had all these pass blocking snaps and allowed zero pressure. It's definitely a good game for him pass blocking wise, but it was just a combination of a few things. One, lesser competition, and they didn't do a lot of drop back passing. It was very little drop back passing, which didn't put a lot of pressure on Evan Neal. And they were, Robert Quinn always lined up over Andrew Thomas, so you were facing guys who didn't have the get off that the Dallas Cowboys players had. But there was improvements technically. His feet, he was getting to that third step, and he was more patient with his hands. If you watch the O-line report, it's there's still some stuff that's not perfect about his footwork, but he was getting to his landmarks, and he's fast enough, he's athletic enough, he's big and strong enough that it doesn't always have to be perfect for him to have a good rep, and he had some awesome plays. I thought he had his best pass blocking rep of the year. So just getting more comfortable. Again, not every week is going to be going against DeMarcus Lawrence in that jump chop. Doing that, being more patient with his hands and not over punching. It was just, last week 3 was a learning lesson for Evan Neal, and I thought he got there was definitely some improvement. He hasn't turned the corner and now he's going to be awesome for the rest of the year, but there was definitely improvement.
Yeah, you want to see consistency at this point, and the Giants had a very, very good game plan that it didn't put Evan Neal and then the rest of the offensive line, not counting Andrew Thomas, not putting the rest of those 4 guys in compromising situations where you're asking Daniel Jones to just drop back. I mean, Bobby, how many conventional dropbacks were there this game?
With DJ, 5.
5. So, the rest of them were kind of play action rollouts, and either Jones is running the ball or he's throwing the ball. So, Evan Neal showed a little bit more. How about in the run game? Did you see improvement in the run game? And clearly, because the Giants' running game was just awesome all day. What did you see there?
One, lesser competition, so he was able to lean on guys and get some movement. He's still got to clean up his first step. It's still sloppy, and that's
False
something
steps, right?
Yeah, when I say that first step is, he's taking what we used to call it. I remember when I first started playing football, my coach just cussed me out for 45 minutes in front of the entire team watching film.
Love that.
We call it a Barney Rubble step, which is he's putting his foot is going, half a foot backwards, 6 inches backwards instead of 6 inches forward.
Yeah, you're not gaining any ground.
Which you don't gain any ground, and that causes you to lean, and that leads to some bad balance plays. So, he needs to get better at that. But in the run game, he did have some really good plays where he was leaning on guys, and you see the strength and the athleticism that he has.
Yeah, him and Andrew Thomas had some 2 nice pancakes. He got to get the maple syrup out for them this week. So good stuff for Evan Neal. I believe Rashawn Gary and Zadarius Smith are on tap this week, so buckle up.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough test for him this week. Next question.
Hashtag Shane Stan at NYG Catastrophe. That's quite a username. Are you more impressed with Wink or Kafka?
How about, why don't you go first?
I'm really going back and forth on this, man. Part of me wants...
Why don't you say Kafka so you can make all the points for Kafka, because I may make points for the other guy.
Yeah, I was leaning Kafka. Like, I want to say, like, oh, both, because they're both doing a great job, right? But I feel like Kafka has had to deal with a little bit more adversity on the offensive side of the ball in terms of maybe them having a vision for what the offense looks like over the summer, and then how that drastically changed towards the regular season, where Wink, I don't think, has had to deal with that as much. At the end of the day, Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll, they have an offense that they want to throw the ball. They want to throw the ball on first down. They want to be a team that, moves the ball downfield through the air. And right now, they just can't do that because their offensive line is a little suspect, but even more suspect, they don't have wide receivers that they can really count on. There's no wide receiver that you can really count on. So the fact that not only are they running the ball well and effectively and efficiently, but they're doing it like it's the best in the NFL. And the Giants offense right now, on an EPA basis and on a DVOA basis too, average. The Giants offense is average, and we are a whole month into the season. And this even includes, I think they're almost average on a points basis, right, Bobby? They're almost average?
Yeah, I believe they're 18th in points per game.
Awesome. So efficiency, and then also just the raw, points per game, stat as well. So I am much more impressed with what Mike Kafka's had to deal with, still looking at the offense being average, versus Wink Martindale, which I'm still very impressed by. So you tell me why Wink.
There's some questions later that I want to expand on that we'll talk about Mike Kafka, so I won't share too much. But yeah, credit to them for changing what their approach has been for their careers, or at least the last couple of years as offensive minds, obviously with the Chiefs and the Bills. And there's been some good week-to-week adjustments and being like, hey, if something's working, let's keep going to it. Like the 2 touchdown runs by Daniel Jones, they ran that play 4 times, like the exact same play 4 times, and then twice it led to a touchdown. And then they ran other plays that were very similar to that, like took advantage. And we'll talk, Tim Coffey has a question about 13 personnel where I want to expand on that a little more. I'm going to go Wink Martindale, though. We were very worried about this defense coming into the year. They're top 10 in points per game. I know they've played bad quarterbacks. They're the number 8 passing defense. We were very worried about this secondary. And Aaron Robinson's missed essentially all but one game. He went out early in the 4th game. Having to rely on Cordell Flott on the outside, then Fabian Moreau, who didn't spend any time with them at all in training camp. They have the number 2 third down defense and the best red zone defense as far as stopping touchdowns. Like those are like where I like you as a play caller, like make your money is third down and in the red zone as a defensive play caller. And they've been awesome, just awesome at it. And they've lived out of cover 1 and cover 3, which is what Wink Martindale does. But they've went to some other things, but the blitzes every week, like they fit the opponent. They're not just like, hey, these are the type of blitzes we run every single week. Like they're, versus the Panthers, they're giving the looks of you put everybody on the line of scrimmage and you drop these guys out. You put 3 safeties on the field, 4 safeties on the field, 3 safeties on the line of scrimmage. And then last week, I did a quick video breakdown today on social media where they lined up Dexter Lawrence inside the guard, had Kayvon Aziz on the edge, and then Nick Williams outside the left guard. And then they did a double inside linebacker switch blitz, which they allowed to rush 5 guys versus 6, but they ended up getting free rushers, and it worked. You got 2 sacks out of it, and then a 3rd and 2 incompletion out of it. Like working that type of stuff for perfection, seeing what they have on film. Again, he's got no good linebackers. He has 1 good cornerback. He's had suspect edge play besides week 4. Getting free rushers and just getting his position coaches, which we'll talk about a little bit with Dex too, like getting the most out of his position coaches. And credit to Jerome Henderson for He coaches zone. Like we love Jerome Henderson the last 2 years, but it was a very different defense. Like these corners have held up halfway decent in man coverage for the most part, basically except for Darnay Holmes and then a little bit of Cordell Flott. So to me, it's been fun to watch what Wink has done every week, whether it's stacking the box and if they go heavy, like, hey, we're not going to stack the box versus this. So I think there's been a good mix of all different looks. This week versus Justin Fields, who's bad at kind of reading defenses, he rotated this, like he would start out and too high coverage and rotate the safeties right before the snap every time, just muddying looks. I know they've played bad QBs, but we have bad personnel on defense, and Wink Martindale's gotten the most out of them. So Wink Martindale has been the one for me.
Yeah. They're the fourth best pass defense on third down on an EPA basis as well, which, I mean, third down is the money down. So the fact that Giants defense has been able to hold on third down, a lot of third and shorts too. I think the Bears were 1 for 6 on 3rd and 4 or shorter this past week. So credit to Wink Martindale. It's one of those things where I don't know how sustainable that is when you are playing good quarterbacks. You know, when bad teams are getting in 3rd and shorts and they're not converting, good quarterbacks are going to convert that, especially when you have the element of a good quarterback, maybe with a good running game as well. 3rd and shorts become a lot more lethal for some good teams. So we'll see how they can hold up against, just take it 1 week at a time. Aaron Rodgers is not the same Aaron Rodgers, and the Green Bay offense is not the same Green Bay offense that we've known in the past. So I'm very interested to see how he does this week against Green Bay. Yeah,
by far the best QB will play. Like Justin Fields, and just the Bears offense is bad in general. Cooper Rush did well, but he's not he's, at the end of the day, he's not a good quarterback. And then Baker Mayfield, and then Tannehill's a solid QB, not a good QB. So it definitely be, these next 2 weeks versus Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson will be a huge test.
Yeah.
The NFL action is in full swing at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. Check this out, guys. In addition to usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same-game parlays. That's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to the games this week. By the way, last week, as soon as I picked the Rams over the 49ers, I was like, that was stupid. Why would I do that? Like, the 49ers always beat the Rams. And I went 4-3 in my picks last week. I would have put me at 5-2.
How did I do?
I can't remember.
I think I had a good week.
I think we all went above 500, but I think you might have went 4-3.
Of course.
To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped up same game parlays once per game day all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code JOHNBOY only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Next question. You'll be glad you did.
All right, we have Julian here to also butt in with this question. We've avoided it. We can't avoid it any longer. First, before we do anything, Josina Anderson back in our lives.
We might get demonetized if we play this.
Real simple for NFL talk mixed with real talk on our lives and your lives. Sit back, relax, turn up the crew, tap into the crew, get turned with the crew. New crew, NYC, in Brooklyn.
Still here.
She quote tweeted your Kayvon tweet, by the way.
She did. I didn't know what to think of it. Whatever. Extremely depressed Yankee fan at Knicks_tape_. What are the odds we re-signed Odell or Landon Collins?
We'll do Odell first.
Sure.
0. There's a 0% chance of it. Okay, so
what happened?
I brought Julian on because I want like an Odell, like a big Odell fan to give me pushback on this topic, because I know everyone Odell is a lot of people's favorite players. He's essentially the best wide receiver that the Giants have ever had. Like, he's an electric player, but I don't know. Here's the thing with Odell.
I think you
time out.
Julian, tell me what your thoughts are on this, and then
we need to describe what happened. Like, why are we talking about Odell Beckham Jr. if you don't know?
He was in the Giants building hanging out with Sterling Shepard before he went into surgery. And then
not on an official free agent visit.
No, and we'll talk about that. So, Julian, tell me why this is significant.
I think you just poop at parties when any conversation comes up about Odell. Which, ironically, Odell would actually probably love hanging out with you at parties if that were the case. But there's not a 0% chance he doesn't sign with the Giants. Like, yeah, this year, no. But it is not just some random thing that he just stops by to hang out with friends at a Giants facility. Like, I understand it's probably to see Shep, but the reports that he absolutely never had a conversation with Dable and Shane, I just find that extremely hard to believe. Like, free agents don't just stop by team facilities just to hang out with like old friends, which like there's not that many old friends that he has on the Giants outside of Shep, even though it would make sense that he goes to see Shep. Like, they're both going through similar situations. That makes sense.
Here's where I think there is some significance. With the last regime, they would have said they wouldn't have allowed him to come into the building. That's where there's some significance. You know, there's some healing between the two sides where, you know, the Giants, they broke up and both sides had good reasons to be bothered with each other. Here, and this is me speculating, like everyone else is speculating on this. And this is why you're like, well, free agents don't just come by to hang out with friends. Well, that's what Odell does, though. One, he's been doing it with every team, and I know people are going to hate this. Odell loves attention. He loves attention. Okay, so for him to, I don't know how the invite happened, whether it was Shep inviting or Odell being like, hey, I want to come by, and then, you know, and then Landon Collins being there, legitimately being there, and the Giants are 3-1. Dave's is a player coach, and Shep is doing the surgery. So if it's Shep or Saquon going like, hey, can Odell stop by? You know, they talk about it, and they say yes. But I guarantee you, Brian Daboll and Shane aren't very happy about that.
They're probably not hyped that it's a huge story and a bunch of Giants.
You know why it's a huge story is because Odell wanted to be a huge story. Because he should have just, like, if he wanted to be there for Shep before he goes to surgery, why not just go to his house?
But
and then why text Josina Anderson right after to get all this attention about it and get the fanfare going? It's because Odell loves attention.
All allegedly coming from an Odell hater, but he could have just been at his house, but instead he was at the Giants facility. And we know that the Bills were a name that were floated around for Odell last year to go to. And like a year ago, the thought of him stopping by the Giants facility would never happen. So
because Gettleman was the GM.
Exactly. But rightfully so, that makes Giants fans super excited. And even though it makes no sense that he would come here this year, not only because the Giants have no money, but because he wants to go to a contender and we're not going to be a contender. But the door is absolutely not closed for Odell to one day become a Giant again. Because, yeah, he is doing a tour, and he's doing a tour for attention. It's literally like a college visit. He's going to all these places, which, I mean, I don't blame him. He's injured, and he knows he's not going to sign to a team right now. So might as well milk it for what it's worth, check out everywhere. But just look at the places he's gone. Like, it's the Saints, which is a possible place he would go. The Rams, obviously, the Bucks, and the Giants. Like, that's just it shows that he's at least interested in becoming a Giant at some point in his future. And Giants fans that love Odell, that's very exciting. And they got very excited on Twitter yesterday, rightfully so, instead of just saying, oh, look at this guy trolling everybody, which he wasn't doing. Maybe
he absolutely was trolling. For him to go to the facility, for them, whether it's asking Shep to go there, that is him trolling and then texting Josina Anderson right after. Okay, and I guarantee you that when Dable will talk to the media, and he won't say anything about it because that's what Dable does with the media, but that I guarantee you that annoys him because it doesn't make sense for Odell and the Giants to have a reunion. One, this year, obviously 0%, but next year, the guy's had 2 ACL tears in his last 9 games, and unless you're a Super Bowl contender, not like a couple moves away from being a Super Bowl contender, but like we're a Super Bowl contender right now, this helps us be, make that happen even more so and give us a better shot at it. It is. So next year wouldn't make sense either for the Giants, and I would not give Odell, who's going to be 30 years old this offseason, 2 torn ACLs, anything more than a 1-year deal. So that's why it doesn't make sense for the Giants to ever. I know people love Odell, and I'm not telling people to not love Odell, but this is 100% Odell attention grab.
LeBron brought a championship back to Cleveland,
Oh
and
my
all I'm
God.
saying is the door is not closed for Odell to do that too.
LeBron wasn't coming off of 2 torn ACLs, and anyway, it's just
Didn't he tear his Achilles too when he was with the Giants?
it just doesn't make sense for the Giants. Again, the injury history, and I would never give him anything more than a 1-year deal for the rest of his career, no matter what team I was. No matter what team I was, I would never give him more than a 1-year deal. And again, the Giants PR, as soon as this came out, blasted it out to all the media members, and you saw them all tweet it out that there was no meeting between Shane and Dable. Like they didn't want this to get out. Like I guarantee you, they didn't want this to get out. One, just because of the attention, and now all the attention is going to bring it too. And so, congrats, Brian Dable and Joe Shane. Being a player coach, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing this, but you just opened up the Odell experience, which is Odell trying to get as much attention on him as possible. So we're 3-1, and now we're doing this Odell stuff because that's just kind of what it's just like when we won 4 games in a row in 2020, and then Odell goes on a podcast while he's out for the year. Bringing up the Giants stuff and pandering, saying like, oh, they didn't, like pulling the Eli heartstrings. We talked about it. So,
Man, I was in bed trying to go to sleep, and then this broke. And it was like 10 o'clock, 10:15. Can you imagine how pissed Pat Hanlon was? If I'm in bed, Pat Hanlon, 100% in bed, had to get his ass out of bed, send all these messages to these Giants reporters, and be like, this was not a thing.
Can you guys both honestly say that?
why did Odell go into the building instead of just going to their houses?
Exactly. Like that's why I think it's.
No, he's
crazy.
asking
Do
you,
think-
why? Why did he do that, Julian?
Because there was more than just him hanging out with Shep. He wanted.
Why
to
would the
see-
Giants do this in season after being 3-1?
That's a great question, and that's why it's not.
Why are they
nothing.
doing it until he's not even going to be ready by the best case scenario, November?
And they know he's not. And they know he's not coming to the Giants this year. Like even if there was a thought, why would they do it? This was Joe Shane and Brian Dable being players, coaches, and players GMs. Shep is about to go into surgery, and Shep is like, hey, Odell wants to stop by and do it.
Motivation.
And because Brian Dable is the player coach, he's not going to say no, especially when they're winning. And you have a team leader who just tore his ACL.
Motivation for Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney.
Listen, college recruits go to colleges all the time when they're in their sophomore and junior year of high school. And Odell is doing his recruiting tour right now, and the Giants are just petitioning for future years. Can you guys honestly say there's a 0% chance that he ever comes back? Not this year, but in the future.
I'd say less than a 5% chance.
That's all the chance I need.
If the Giants within like 2 years become Super Bowl, like real deal Super Bowl contenders,
I don't think you need to be a contender for Odell to go to the Giants, though. I think,
then what's the point of it? Because you're only going to sign, if you sign for more than a 1-year deal, it's a bad deal.
but I mean, the Giants are going to bring in a veteran receiver at some point in the next 3 years. Like they're just
Someone who's not going to be 32 by the end of his 33 by the end, 32, 33 by the end of his contract, has 2 torn ACLs, a whole bunch of other injuries.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's probably going to be a shell of himself coming back from all these injuries. But I think that
And if we were a Super Bowl contender, and this be like, well, Bobby just doesn't like Odell, and Odell annoys the crap out of me. He did when he was with the Giants, and when he left. If we were a Super Bowl, like if we were even like somewhat close, I would be all for this. Like I really would. Like you cannot deny that he's an electric player. And even in last year, when all the stuff happened with when he forced his way out of Cleveland and was just a total cancer to that team, even though Baker Mayfield does suck, two things can be true at the same time. It was like, okay, he goes to the Rams, like that's real deal. Like that's huge right there. And it did end up being huge for them. But unless
he would have been the Super Bowl MVP. There's not a doubt in my mind if he didn't get hurt. He was going.
He was awesome. Like he was awesome. He was awesome in those playoffs. Unlike when he was with us in the playoffs, but you were not here to debate that. So if a Super Bowl contender, if we were there, I would 100% be down for it. Like I don't like Landon Collins, but like if they sign him, I have no problem with that. Because it would make some sense.
To me, it's no different than that. Like Landon Collins is obviously a shell of himself compared to peak when he was in 2016.
Landon Collins would be available to play this Sunday. Odell Beckham Jr. is not available to play until at least November. That's the difference.
I'm not talking
Landon
about
Collins is
Odell
going to
playing
sign
for
a
the
practice
Giants this
squad
year.
contract.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Odell playing for the Giants this year. That has never made any
You just
sense.
said there's no difference, and that's the difference.
Yeah, but like there's no difference next year. Like you don't have to be a Super Bowl contender to bring Odell.
Yes, it
on.
is, because if you sign him next year, you're going to have to actually give him money, and then what's the point of signing him for a 1-year deal?
I don't think you'll actually have to give him money for all the reasons you listed. Like he's gonna be 30, and
But somebody will give him money unless he gets injured again.
Yeah.
He's not going to get more than like $3 million. He didn't.
Come on. Are you serious? I'm the Odell hater. You think if he finishes this year healthy with the Super Bowl team, he's not getting more than $3 million? I'd be surprised if he got less than $10 million on a 1-year deal.
I'm gonna look up what
Allen
Richie
Robinson
James is
just
making
got
right
a
now.
bunch of money.
What did he get from the Rams last year?
But last year was in season. He was, he had the contract with the Browns. It was in season. It was like I think end of November when he got signed.
Richie James has a $1 million contract with possibly $300,000 an additional tacked onto it. I'm guessing if that's like performance. So
Austin Johnson got a $3 million contract after being our 5th defensive tackle in 2020.
yeah,
I just don't think he's going to be that good for whatever team he joins this year, because naturally, like coming off the ACL again, like he's not going to be very good, and he's not going to get paid next year. And he's going to sign a 1-year deal, obviously, with someone this year. So to me, it's like not a financial thing at all. With this year, yeah, it is. But
if he finishes this year healthy, there's no way he's making less than he's going to get a 1-year, $10+ million deal somewhere.
that would be a wild decision by whatever GM.
Evan
it's
Ingram
gonna
got a
happen.
1-year, $10 million deal.
That would make sense if you're an Odell away from being like going from a Super Bowl contender to like a Super Bowl favorite. A 1-year, 10. There's no, and you have the space for it. Nothing wrong with it. It's a much smarter move than what the Rams just did with Allen Robinson before the season even started. I would have rather done that.
Allen Robinson just doesn't get thrown the ball, which is a different issue. I still think he's good. I don't know how he wouldn't be, but he just doesn't get the ball.
All right. That's
Thanks,
enough Odell
Julian.
talk.
Not to just pile on you, but we kind of did.
Well, no, I wanted, because you know how it is if we didn't have Julian on, I would give all these talking points, but then I wouldn't have anybody to rebut all the points that are going to be thrown at me. And I would have been looking at the comments on YouTube all day and replying.
It would have
to
just
them.
been an Odell hate fest for 5 minutes. It would have been, oh, he's so terrible. Oh, he's fishing for attention.
No, I have
all those
nothing
things
to
are true.
say.
He's not terrible, but he's absolutely fishing for attention.
I have nothing to say. I mean, so this conversation would have lasted about
Let's
2
talk
minutes.
about Landon Collins very quickly.
Let's talk about Landon Collins.
Oh, so I guess the question. I'm surprised by this because I thought this was Tony Jefferson's role, and I thought Tony Jefferson would even be. So I'm not so if the Giants do this, fine. I guess they're just not getting the Julian dip. I guess they're just not getting what they want out of Tony Jefferson. But I wouldn't expect, like, he was really bad for Washington at safety, and then they tried to move him to linebacker, and he wasn't good at that. He also had a big injury. It's a no risk move, but I wouldn't have any expectations for Landon Collins, Justin.
Yeah, just for a team that really is cap stricken. I mean, at least that's what I think that they're giving off the impression. Joe Shane has talked about the cap. Well, it's like, why sign Tony Jefferson if you're not going to use him? And why get him from Baltimore? And, Jason Pinnock is still floating around there. He's on special teams. Is that what they think of him? Okay.
And these little contracts add up, too.
They do. And, that's what that's the whole point is that, for a team that's saying that they can't really do much, bringing in Landon Collins for a workout, not just a hinky-dinky safety, but bringing in Landon Collins, who I think would get more than the league vet minimum, I think. I don't know. And also for a safety that would really only be playing the box. Like, he would be playing Tony Jefferson's role, like that Deion Grant 2011 Super Bowl 46 role. That is Landon Collins.
And I think Tony Jefferson would be much better in coverage than Landon Collins.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to happen because, like, last week, AJ Klein, like, they told AJ Klein on, like, Thursday last week they were going to sign him, and then they signed him on Monday. So these, like, workout things that are usually a week delayed, especially the Giants are going to London this week. So, and LPG is hinting at it a little bit too. Obviously, he's very close with Landon.
Close.
So I do think that's going to happen. All right, next question. Julian, if you don't want to stay for the rest, you can go.
I know I tried to find my Landon Collins jersey, but I couldn't find it. Unfortunately, the only two Giants jerseys I own are Landon Collins and Odell jerseys.
It is insane looking back, like when Washington gave him a 6-year, $84 million contract. Like, no matter how big of a Landon Collins fan you are, like, that's insane. What are you doing, Washington? All right, next question.
Next question is coming from Wes Locke at Wesley Westigles. I feel like he did the thing where he asked like a legitimate question and then he asked like a silly question in the same question. What do you contribute to unlocking Dexter Lawrence this season? Does being best friends with Leonard Williams help in addition to the coaching?
This is why I loved Andre Patterson as a D-line coach coming from the Vikings, like who's very well respected around the league. And again, coach technique. Like, if you will set yourself as apart as a position coach, if you just focus on technique, and I think with Dex, his hands and feet are working together.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times in the past, it was like his feet made this play, or and it was just very segmented, and it wasn't like smooth in what he was doing. But because he's a beast, he was able to make some plays here and there. But I think this year is the hands and the feet are just working together in unison, which is so huge for D linemen. So where he, like the first 3 weeks, he had really good games, awesome. And then when you play a bad opponent in the Bears, you just totally dominate in what was the best game of his career. Which we got that guy from a certain trade anyways. That's another thing. When people say like they both lost, it's like, no, we didn't. Like the Browns clearly lost that
Browns
trade.
lost.
Like we still have Dexter Lawrence. And we got more out of Jabril Peppers in his time here than the Browns did Odell. So I just think his hands and feet are working in unison. No more Odell talk.
No, that's
Browns also, they couldn't use Odell at all. They just did not.
All right, enough. I really don't care. Like
it's hard to use a guy when he's just sulking on the sideline and telling other teams to trade him the first year he's there.
Yeah, really glad his father knows how to use the record feature on an iPhone. Yeah, man, Dexter Lawrence you had some really nice swim moves this week, and I thought, kind of using speed and power and being versatile in that element, where a couple times where he's lining over the center, and then there's a lot of times where he's lining up over the guard as well. Bobby, I don't know, because you definitely pay attention to film a lot more than I do. He has a decent amount of nose tackle reps this year. PFF has it as a total of 28 nose tackle reps so far this year. And I felt like some of his more dominant pass rush reps against Chicago this past weekend was going up against the center and putting that pressure on the center. There are either some plays where the center is caught leaning and he's working some speed moves. And then there are some plays where he's taking these interior offensive linemen for rides and he's working power. So I think the element of Dexter Lawrence being more versatile and how he wins this year is what is making the difference for him.
Yeah, and they played him a little more at nose tackle once Leo went down too. So yeah, it's just hands and feet working in unison. He's becoming a better D lineman. It's not about scheme. It's just about teaching a guy how to be a better D lineman. If there's one position where I think that should be the emphasis at coaching, it's D line. Because at the end of the day, you're kind of playing your gap and reading, pulling and stuff. Like, it's not the most complicated position in the NFL. But just focus on that technique, and I think Andre Patterson's gotten the most out of Dexter Lawrence.
But also, this is credit to Dex, too. I just think he's gotten better as a player, too. Like, why not just embrace that Dexter Lawrence has, like, fully improved as a football player?
Absolutely.
And it may take time. It's not always just coaching, but talent matters. Talent also does matter. I know that's the only thing that we've talked about this year is the coaching element. But Dexter Lawrence taking that year 4 jump and looking for a big contract, I think that kind of stuff does matter, and he's earning it so far.
And that's when Dalvin made the same jump as at that age. You know, Dalvin came out of 4 years. Dex came out after 3. So that's part of it. And again, like the coaching, when we talk about the coaching, it's not the coaching just turns Dexter Lawrence into a good player out of nothing. He was already a good player. I think the coaching and just getting older and better as a player has helped him make a jump to a much better player.
Yeah.
And just a guy who gets the flashy plays and gets the stats. Why don't you read an ad and we'll do the next question?
Yeah,
next question is a very important one, too.
Yeah, before we get to the next question, we got to talk about a new sponsor. This show today is brought to you by The Ridge Wallet. You see, on this side, there's a bunch of cards. I got some cards in my new Ridge Wallet, and then I even got some dollars in the back, and it's super easy to get everything out. There's the money. I can easily grab it out. I can easily put it back in. And then boom, the cards right here, can easily kind of grab them, shift them out of the wallet, tap it, slap it back in. The Ridge wallet, it holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. There's over 30 colors and styles, including carbon fire and burnt titanium. The wallet has over 50,000 5-star reviews. That's a lot more than this podcast has. The durable material means each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. The Ridge team is so confident that you'll like it that they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. And then also, as like phones are getting bigger, so much stuff is getting bigger, especially in guys' pockets. I want something small that's easy to manage. I know where it is. I could tap it. I can knock on it if I'm in my pocket. So if I ever get self-conscious that I lost my wallet, I know that it's here. So while everything else is getting bigger, penis joke, the Ridge wallet is small and I know exactly where it is. So I want you to check out the link in our description and use code JOHNBOY for 10% off the Ridge wallet. Check out the link in our description. Use code JOHNBOY for 10% off.
You'll be glad you did. Next question.
Next question is coming from Eli to Plax at Eli to Plax _.
Great handle, by the way.
Yeah, how'd you get that? How long do you think this offense can survive on bootlegs, under center, play action, zone reads, etc.? What's the path toward developing some traditional dropback passing, assuming Jones's ankle is okay and then some other guys come back from injury? Can I answer the first half of the question, then maybe you the second half?
Go for it.
So, I think this offense, we're going to look at it on a week-to-week basis, and we're going to say, oh, maybe the offensive identity is going to start to be this. Maybe the offensive identity is going to start to be that. Now, the last 2 weeks, they've done a lot of the bootleg stuff, getting Jones out of the pocket, him trying to, either throw a crossing pattern like Tanner Hudson, Daniel Bellinger check down, or Daniel Jones just kind of tucking and running it. But I think it's going to change week to week. I honestly do. I mean, the first 2 weeks of the season, you saw maybe a little bit more 11 personnel. Definitely week one, you saw a lot more, them operating out of the shotgun. That's when Tony was still running around. That's when Wandale was still available, Shep. So definitely the offense has changed just personnel-wise. But I do think week to week, depending on the matchups that the opposing team is giving, I think Mike Kafka and Brian Dable are going to change things. And it's not just going to be 12 personnel, 13 personnel, bootlegs, like you saw this past week in Chicago. I do think it's going to change week to week, so I don't even want to pigeonhole this Giants offense saying, oh, can they survive on this? Because I think it is going to change week to week.
That, and one, you still do some of this stuff, but at some point they have to be able to be successful in a drop-back offense. Like, that's how you score points in the passing game, is a drop-back offense, and that other stuff is complementary towards it. Like, you got to be able to drop back and throw the ball. The biggest key for that is Evan Neal improving. Like, that is the most, I know everyone focuses on the wide receivers right now and it's Evan Neal's growth. The most important thing is Evan Neal growing and being able to be trusting him at right tackle. Like, you got to have some trust in him at right tackle. Because if he plays good versus the Cowboys, there's two, just very clear big plays that are made. One to Darius Slayton, one to Richie James, and I'm sure there are other ones that where if you don't get that pressure, there's some big plays made off. So that's huge right there. Evan Neal is the most important thing, because I know we're all mad at the wide receiver room. I still think if you give the quarterback some time in this, these wide receivers still can make some plays depending on who you're facing. We're not going to go face the best. We're not going to go face the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, and especially when the scheme is what it is, that the wide receivers aren't so bad that they can't be schemed open. And that's what did happen weeks 1 and 2 when they were running a little bit more out of the shotgun and conventional passing. Like, we were talking about how Jones was missing guys down the field. So it's not impossible.
And out of the healthy guys, obviously they're going to be forced to do this now, play Darius Slayton and Richie James. Darius Slayton's your best outside receiver who's healthy, and Richie James can separate a little bit. He's not some amazing player, but he can do it. He's good versus zone coverage. And Slayton has been able to get open deep. And, Jones should have hit him on that slant on third down. He had Darius Slayton could still make some plays. I know we get mad at the drops and stuff, and so do I. But Darius Slayton can still be a playmaker for this Giants offense, even though he's very flawed as a player. And then the other thing would be could we please get something out of Kadarius Toney? But I'm not betting on that. But playing Slayton, out of the guys who are consistently healthy, play Slayton. Slayton get more reps than David Sills, if Kenny Golladay if he was 100% healthy, you play him more than Kenny Golladay. Darius Slayton should be the top outside wide receiver because he is a threat to defenses. He's not some great wide receiver, but he is a threat that has to be reckoned with for defenses. And He got open twice, deep. The pass interference, if Tyrod Taylor, if there's no pressure up the middle, Eddie Jackson, who's one of the best safeties in the league in coverage, isn't able to read that, and he may have had another big play. If Evan Neal blocks better versus Dallas, he probably has a 50-yard catch, or at least an opportunity at a 50-yard catch. And this is a guy who's barely played. Like, he's probably played 40 snaps in total this season.
Just catch the freaking ball, man. There. Just catch the freaking ball. I mean, there's no analysis. Bobby and I, we try and bring the stats. We try and bring, Bobby brings the technique, the film. It's just, I don't know what to say other than catch the freaking ball. Like,
yeah. So the main thing to this is Evan Neal has to improve, and where we can trust him to run a drop back offense. Obviously, the interior is going to have some issues, but you can live with a little bit of that. But we got to be able to trust Evan Neal to get into some 5-step drops, 7-step drops, because that's how you're going to push the ball downfield. And the Giants haven't been like dead last in throwing the ball 20-plus yards this year.
And Evan Neal is the most realistic piece of the offense getting better that you can bank on, rather than the wide receivers, tight ends.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Kadarius Toney. Like, I can't bet on Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, I think the second to last team in the NFL, they have 9 passing plays with 20-plus yards. The Giants have 4.
And the coaching staff's it's not like we're like passing up on those opportunities. Like, besides that David Sills one from week 1, like, they're not really putting like deep balls in the plays. Like, it's a lot deeper than what Jason Garrett was.
I don't mind it. Like, and the Giants are doing.
I wish there was some more vertical stuff in the offense
versus horizontal. Yeah, you've talked about that. But
I mean, I love the horizontal stuff, but I wish there was some more vertical stuff in it.
But right now, I don't mind it because I'm looking at the results, and the Giants are close to average. And if you're telling me the personnel that the Giants have and they're average on an EPA rate, and they're doing somewhat of a good job.
They're also 31st in passing, though.
But Bobby, I don't care.
I'm not talking about Mike Kafka as a whole, but at some point we got to be able to drop back and throw the ball.
No, and I agree. But if they're going to continue to run the ball efficiently like they are now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but as the years have gone on, Bobby, I've said the Giants aren't the 49ers, the Giants aren't the Ravens, the Giants aren't the Titans. The Giants aren't this juggernaut rushing offense team that can just run the ball at will, and then everything else will fall into place. But right now, granted, against some bad opposing offenses, they are. But I definitely agree, through these next 3 games that we have coming up, where we are playing better offenses, and it's just naturally expected that the defense is going to regress a little bit, you do need to introduce some more drop-back passing in there, and the passing offense does need to get more efficient and a little bit more explosive. But continue to run the ball like you are, because it's working. As long as it's working. And that's all that I think analytics people like myself, who, where you get accused of being anti-running the ball, it's not that we're necessarily anti-running the ball. It's just it's just that we're anti-running the ball in inopportune times and when you shouldn't run the ball. That's it.
Yeah, but some analytics people hate Kyle Shanahan. All right. Next question.
Josh Lupasakis at J_Loopy.
Kawasaki.
Through the first 4 games, who has been the most disappointing player and who has been the most surprising?
Do we have the same most disappointing in Mark Lewinsky? I didn't have high expectations for Mark Lewinsky either, and he's been disappointing. He's been good in the run game for the most part, but he's had some really bad pass blocking days.
Yeah. Carolina was especially bad.
And I'm not expecting. I was hoping for average with some bad sprinkled in. There's been times where he looks like the worst offensive lineman on the team. So Lewinsky's been my most disappointing.
I didn't think Kenny Golladay was as bad as he was.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I didn't think that either.
I knew that he wasn't going to be this guy that, when we signed him, what he thought he would be, but I just didn't think he was going to be this bad, where you just can't get a first down. You can't even catch a first down.
When we did our player profile projection on him, where we're like, well, last year was a disappointment, but he wasn't a bad, he is a worse wide. And again, I think the offense is not fitting him great either. But yeah, he's just, Golladay, that's actually more of a right answer than Lewinsky. Galladay's the right answer, actually. Yeah.
Surprising?
Tony. What's the most surprising?
We already talked about Dexter Lawrence. For me, it's Dexter Lawrence and just how good he is. Not only is he good, but he's like literally one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league right now. I did not expect that, but let's maybe try and go somewhere different.
Mine's Ben Bredesen. He's been playable.
All right. Yeah.
And last year he was not playable. Like he was worse than Will Hernandez last year. Yeah, like he's been like Ben Bredesen's been better than Mark Lewinsky, like especially in pass pro. Playing against next to AT helps a little bit on that, but mine is Bredesen.
You could say Tae Crowder's made some nice plays. Obviously, not against Dallas. Had a bad game there. I'm going to say Fabian Moreau. And just CB2 in general. Just CB2 in general. I know you're smiling right now.
No, don't give me that CB2 in general crap.
CB2 in general, because we talked about how Aaron Robinson goes out and this defense is like low-key a disaster, and it has not been a disaster when Aaron Robinson has went out. I think we even have an Aaron Robinson question in a little while. So there you go. Next question coming from Doug. Complicated handle. Bobby doesn't want me to read it again.
Doug.
Why/how? Speaking of Tae Crowder, why/how did Tae Crowder have such a strong performance on Sunday? Can he build off of anything specific, or was this simply an anomaly?
I think it was more of an anomaly. Like he still had like when they run outside, he's just slow to react. Like he's not good in that Mike linebacker position. Like he's so much better as a will linebacker. Like when we were excited about Tae Crowder, it was 2020 as a Mr. Irrelevant rookie, where we're like, how did this guy fall so far? And he looked good next to Blake Martinez. He just doesn't read his keys great, and he's just slow to react. So whenever teams run outside, we're just at a disadvantage. And he still had some bad plays. He's not great coming off of blocks. And anytime we're in a light box and it's more responsibility than just playing your gap, he struggles. But he had some good plays in this game. I think Jalen helps. And plus blitzing. Like the blitzing helped Tae Crowder out a lot. Like Tae Crowder's good as a blitzing linebacker. Most of that stuff is more scheme than just individual performance. Like he's not killing block. He's not really beating blocks, but he does do some of that stuff well. But I don't like. I was happy with his game, and he had one run. I put on the film last play of the film review today, where it's like this was his best play of the day. A run stop on 3rd and 2 at the end of the game when they punted for the last time. I forgot to tweet out about the film review. Damn it, I'll do it tomorrow.
Damn it.
So I'm not taking too much stock into this game with Tae Crowder.
Yeah, a lot of his plays I thought they were very patient plays. There were no like bat out of hell Tae Crowder running in this gap, just blowing it up. Besides, obviously, his blitz. You're being told to blitz this gap, hit it, get the quarterback. So a lot of his plays were patient, and good on Tae Crowder for being patient. Good on Tae Crowder getting there, using that speed and that sideline speed that we were excited about when he came out. But I'm with you. I think eventually there's going to be a team that's going to watch Tae Crowder and be like, we're going to take advantage of him not being great, because that is what good offense coordinators do, and that's what good teams do, and the Bears don't have that.
Jalen Smith also helps too. Like Jalen Smith is a very clearly better linebacker than Austin Calitro, which I'm surprised Calitro hasn't. I guess Klein's still on the practice squad, but I think Calitro's days are numbered, so he may not get those other 2 revenge games this year.
Yeah, we didn't see the moves at 4 p.m. today. Like, I was kind of anticipating at least some moves. I wanted some moves because I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Davis Webb still not called up from the practice squad. Probably is by the time you're listening to this.
Well, they don't call the practice squad up until Saturday.
You know the timeline.
It is so funny that like Jake Fromm is being worked out. Out of the guys they worked out, AJ McCarron is the guy I want. AJ McCarron, Jake Fromm, and Brian Lewerke. Like Brian Lewerke sucks.
Was there intersection with Dable 27? I feel like AJ McCarron's before 2017, right?
I think he was there with him for a year maybe.
Okay, all right. So that was a Dable intersection. There you go.
But I think they traded him to the Raiders like right away too, though.
He was drafted to the Bengals.
Yeah, he started a playoff game. Let me look. Yeah, because I remember he signed to the Bills, and people were like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I think they traded him like that training camp.
Oh,
yeah, he never played a year for the Bills. Like he was there in 2018, and they traded him in training camp.
Tough.
So yeah, there's who said the intersection today? I think it might have been Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport.
Look at that.
Hold on, let me find it.
AJ McCarron.
He
QB2.
signed with the Bills. in March, and then he was traded in September. Like, they went through a whole training camp with him and like, all right, see ya, trade him to the Raiders.
So did
Gruden
he
loves
work
backup
out?
QBs.
Did he work out with them?
Yeah, he spent a training camp with them.
No, I'm talking about with the Giants, or is this a name that should be just
No,
being
he worked
floated
out
around?
with them.
So Jake Fromm worked out. Did Matt Barkley work out? That was a name that was being talked about.
Matt Barkley's on the practice squad for the Bills.
Tough. All right, but we can sign him. Okay.
All right. Read an ad and then next question.
Yeah, gonna be honest, don't fully care about the Giants QB2 situation this week.
If it's Jake Fromm, it's kind of funny.
If it's anybody but Davis Webb that's going into a game, I will consider turning off the game. Michael Myers sure is scary. Jake Fromm being back on the Giants sure is scary. But the last thing you need is to be hairy this Halloween. Think Jake Fromm's a low-key hairy guy. Luckily, our friends at Manscaped launched their 4th-generation performance package to make sure your pumpkins get the ultimate carving experience on this spooky day. Turn your bite-sized treat into a king-size candy and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code GIANTS. Make the right call this spooky season. It's trick or trim. Bobby, I have a question for you. Have you ever tried to trim your balls and it turned into a Freddy Krueger film?
I know this is an ad. No, but I have cut myself before. Not the... Anyway, just finish the ad, please.
Have you cut your nuts before?
No.
Julian.
Yeah, because I wasn't using Manscaped.
Great.
See, that's the issue. That's the thing,
answer.
is I've always used Manscaped.
Great answer, Julian. Their finely tuned pube products feature a cutting-edge ceramic blade on the Lawnmower 4.0 to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. And oh, did I mention that it's waterproof too? This trimmer is shower essential. There's the Lawnmower 4.0. There's a whole performance package 4.0. Whole bunch of men's hygiene products. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code GIANTS at manscaped.com. Say trick or treat to your beautiful new Halloweeny with Manscaped. Bobby Skinner, next question is coming from Michael Luisi at Michael Luisi 13. You'll be glad you did, Manscaped, by the way. Strictly from a grading perspective, Andrew Thomas's jump to elite status has been driven by his work in the run game, which is true. I think he...
I'm so triggered right now because I checked Twitter while you're reading the ad, and it's about Andrew Thomas, and I'm actually angry. Talking about they gave him a lot of help versus the Bears. It's like, you know why they gave him a lot of help? Because Evan Neal, you couldn't trust the rest of the guys. Okay, so acting like those 4 to 5, the highlight I put up of Thomas versus Quinn doesn't tell the story about Quinn. Well, how about the highlight of against Robert Quinn last year when he had dog shit across him, the most immobile QB in the NFL, and Mike Lennon, and he dominated Robert Quinn for an entire game? Does that tell the whole story? God, dude, why can't people just give him his credit? Anyways.
Well, no, here's what I'm looking at right now, because Michael's talking about the PFF grades, which I know we love to subscribe to.
It just popped on. I was looking at Twitter when you were reading the ad, and it popped up on my screen, and it's so annoying.
So
I'm trying so hard to not go at these people.
He's not the highest graded tackle in the NFL pass blocking. I mean, he's up there. I think he's top 10, but he is, I think, the highest graded tackle run blocking wise. So then, therefore, his overall PFF grade is the best in the National Football League. Might even be across all offensive linemen, definitely across all tackles. So I can't say that Michael's saying that I've noticed a massive jump watching his run blocking live. So can you explain how/if it's showing up on tape, like the jump that he's taken as a run blocker?
He's definitely taken a jump up as a run blocker. There's some really awesome plays in there. Last year, the awesome plays weren't there, and which was maybe had to do with the ankle, because he had the awesome plays his rookie year. Now, his rookie year, they let him double with Shane Lemieux a lot more, where last year he a lot of just single blocks. And he's not having any bad run blocking reps, where those were sprinkled in last year too. And then you do have the dominant ones where he's moving earth. And I think he's gotten better as a pass blocker as well too. Like, he was already awesome at that, but I think he's taken a step forward in that as well, is what I attribute it to.
Yeah, I'm with you. Giants running game improved. Giants winning more. Andrew Thomas getting noticed. I think that's all part of it.
God, I'm thinking about quote tweeting this.
Uh-oh. What does it say?
Let me bookmark it so I don't lose it. It's Brandon Thorne. And I like his work, so I don't want this to be like a shot at him, but to be elite, I think he has to get a lot less help than he's currently getting in pass pro. The 4 to 5 reps floating around on here of reps versus Quinn, which he's talking about my post, don't tell the whole story. He's very good in the run game now. Good in pass pro. You should be thrilled. He's not shitting on Thomas, but acting like they gave him help because they were worried of Robert Quinn. There wasn't even help given against Robert Quinn. There was just all that play action. And guess why there was all that play action? Can we all guess why? Because the rest of the line sucks. That's why. It's not because they were worried about Andrew Thomas versus Robert Quinn. Okay? And so when he dominates Robert Quinn, every chance that he gets, I feel like that's noteworthy. Okay? It's not this, let's stop Robert Quinn game plan. It was to stop the rest of the Bears' mid-defensive line because we can't trust our offensive line. Okay? And I have literally the clip of him versus Robert Quinn last year dominating him. So frustrating, man. Anyways,
at least we bullied Brandon Thorne and Duke Mayweather to talk about Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, but they're talking about him in a snarky way because Giants fans are telling them to acknowledge him.
Yeah, they'll get there. They'll see the light. They'll see the truth.
And I'm not saying they have to say, oh, he's better than this guy or this guy. But acting like if Mekhi Becton or Jedrick Wills were doing this shit, there would be a lot more talk about it.
Just saying.
God, it annoys. I know it shouldn't, but it annoys the crap out of me.
Just saying. Joe at Dumb Blinders. Thoughts on keeping Fabian Moreau as CB2 and moving Aaron Robinson to slot/nickel when he's back replacing Darnay?
Bears have bad wide receivers, but Fabian Moreau played really good. He had that pass breakup in the cover 3 zone. That was a James Bradbury type play. Had some other good plays in man coverage on the sideline. Yeah, I would be down for that. Darnay has still struggled, even though he hasn't gotten targeted much. Yeah, I would be. And Aaron Robinson's out for 4 weeks, so it's Aaron Robinson continues to get injured. Besides, got injured twice last year. Now he gets injured bad enough to be put on the IR after having his appendix removed. So I don't know how much stock I'm putting in Aaron Robinson going forward.
He's 28.
Who was right about Cordell Flott versus Fabian Moreau?
Cordell Flott hasn't played. I don't want to hear this.
But who's better?
I'm not going to say who's better.
I wouldn't either if I was on.
Just don't root for Fabian Moreau to be better than our 3rd round freaking pick, you psycho.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just calling it like I see it.
2 for 7.
Hopefully Flott gets there.
2 catches allowed on 7 targets.
Put Flott in the slot. That's what I want. I want Flott to play the slot.
Ooh, put Flott in the slot. Okay, then that's the answer to your mailbag. I still don't want to dismiss Aaron Robinson.
No, but it's you gotta be on the field. I'm not dismissing him, but you gotta be on the field. And now he's on IR.
Yeah. Fabian Moreau turning his head and playing that ball on that pass deflection. Was that going to Dante Pettis?
Yeah, it was.
So that was a cool play. It was on the Giants sideline. Giants sideline reacted pretty cool to it. I think Cordell Flott still has a little bit of ways to go in terms of turning his head playing the ball like that. Saw him struggle with that during the preseason. Saw him struggle a little bit during the regular season with it. I think he ran into a pass deflection once this year just because he was there, but he didn't turn his head and play the ball. So that's big on me. I was big in that during the 2020 season. It's that I don't mind if you're targeted a lot, but you got to force incompletions. You got to have pass deflections because this is a passing league. Somebody is going to be targeted. You have to be the guy that's going to force the incompletion. So Fabian Moreau, if he gets the first interception of the year, you're going to go nuts.
I want an interception so bad. Last question.
Tim Coffey. Are Dabes and Kafka going to use more 13 personnel than Garrett? Which, that's tough. Why is this a good thing? Also, Garrett sucks as an announcer. If Brian Dable and Mike Kafka use more 13 personnel than Jason Garrett and Joe Judge,
we had the second most in 2020 behind the Browns, who had really good tight ends.
Wild world. And also, Tim Coffey is obsessed with 13 personnel.
Well, and we have 3 tight ends who can block, and that makes that so much more important. And this is why I like it. 1, those guys, when they block, it's respected. And then you have the block and releases, which have led to Daniel Bellinger making some plays, Tanner Hudson making some plays. Tanner Hudson's not a respected blocker, but for, the third guy, it's fine.
Chris Myrick touchdown, week 1.
And here's where I think it's the most valuable. Teams are going to continue to stack the box for Saquon Barkley, but the Giants want to run the ball. So you bring those tight ends in, and they are capable of blocking. Well, guess what? You bring in guys who can block. Now they're bringing in defenders who aren't great playing the run. Safeties, corners. Like, those guys aren't great playing the run. One, just the physicality of it, playing the wrong gap, and it leads to, some Saquon big plays. Like, one of the Saquon big plays this week was because Eddie Jackson, who was playing aggressive, plays the wrong gap. Evan Neal and Mark Lewinsky open up a hole, Saquon hits it. So that's why I like the 13 personnel, the 3 tight end personnel, is because, hey, we want to run the ball, but it's unless you have like one of the better offensive lines in the league, it's hard to just do it with your 5 guys versus their 6 guys.
Yeah, I hope there's going to be some weeks where the Giants kind of did what they did week 1, where they're running a little bit more out of the shotgun, where there's less guys in the box, and maybe they give Saquon Barkley more space. If they feel like they have good matchups in 13 personnel, then run with 13 personnel. I trust this coaching staff to understand the difference of, again, when is it most optimal to run the ball? When is it not optimal to run the ball? And they have showed it. They have 100% showed it. And Saquon Barkley has also been that dude and awesome as well, where I'm not totally afraid where if it's a stacked box and he's facing an 8+ man box, regardless of what formation you're in, I'm not afraid of Saquon Barkley running into these 8+ man boxes anymore, because he has been showing to get the gritty yards while also being explosive as well.
All right, that's a mailbag. We'll be back on Friday with a preview. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining. We'll see you on Friday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.